All right, so we can look at QQQ and SPY first, just as a overall view of what we have going on, and then we'll just take it from there. So let's get that chart up and let me share. If you have a question or need my attention, just you can also use like the hand raising gesture and I'll catch it like that. It may be easier if I join from my phone as well. Let me see if I can do that.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Oh, okay. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I'm gonna do it from my phone so I can try to keep up with the chat too. So this might help me out a little bit. You're in an IWM call Tuesday. Okay, so that's like the small cap. Yeah, small cap has definitely been a little bit more of a cautious area because there's that chatter about like rate cuts going on, and so like part of that could be what's also affecting Tesla. So you should be able to see my screen now, correct?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to zoom out first on QQQ and just kind of get an overall picture of where we're at. Obviously, we're in a bullish trend. So even with this pullback, when you look at it from like your higher time frames, we're still in an uptrend. We just hit our top so far. So what I did look for is for QQQ Friday to challenge September's low on a final pullback, and that did happen. So as you can see, like once we got here from September, I'm sorry, September's high, as we got here, we saw price react here. So I actually had a marker here and an alert. And I think honestly that all happened right at opening. And then of course you've seen that we bounced like pretty strong when we pull back. So that was the story for QQQ so far. We haven't broke the low of October or the high, so it's technically on the monthly chart still an inside candle. So we haven't come down here, challenged this low, but I did find it interesting that we made it to September's high, and that was a good test. And then when you look at it from the weekly, so that high was like at 602.87. I want to say we dropped a little bit under that. And so my EMA is the 12 EMA that you see here. And yeah, we dropped a little bit under that, hitting 597. So dropped a little bit under, but again, a nice reaction as soon as we touched the 12 EMA here. And I'm trying to see which candle gave us our last most recent touch of the 12 EMA, because again, we've been on a pretty strong bullish trend. So the last time we were actually on the EMA or even under it was the pullback from April. And then of course we started to gap up all the way through May. Even again on any red candles, the weekly chart is giving you the same trend, a uptrend. So depending on where NQ opens when futures gets going, we'll see like where we land, but we did challenge the low of the previous week's candle. And so one thing I always look at as a significant clue for me is if we're challenging like highs and lows of like these higher time frames, the 1 day, the weekly, and the monthly. So I always keep like the previous monthly candle, previous weekly candle in mind when I'm seeing certain moves happening on any stock I'm watching. So when QQQ was pulling back, I started to make sure I was aware of where they can go in terms of what our weekly candle was looking like. So still, again, an uptrend. We literally just touched 12 EMA and gave a nice wick. And so now we just have to bring it down to the 1 day. So I'll stop it there. Does anyone have any questions on why I'm looking at higher time frames or need me to explain anything? market data, overall trend bias. Yep. All short, all bearish. Short time frames obviously give a different uh, view of what's happening, especially on QQQ. So when I look at the 1 day, we hit this order block, right? So on my chart, we have this green zone, which are order blocks. This is where we have most demand. This is where we have buyers positioned on the 1 day chart. And so price hit that, and we've hit it a few times since October. We've been bouncing in and out of it, going back to it just at the beginning of November before we had this gap up. And this was a gap that I was watching too to see if we would close, and we did close it. And we're back in this zone. Now, this bounce did not impress me because what we didn't do on the 1 day is bounce all the way back and claim this 12 EMA. So as I see it, this is a overall um the pullback is a little bit more significant when I look at it from the 1 day. And so I'm not super bullish yet going into Monday if we're not even reclaiming the 12 EMA. Do I think we're going to pull all the way back to this 200 next week? No, I don't see that happening. But, anything can happen with enough pressure. So unless we get some type of crazy news, I probably expect that 588 zone I've watched a few times with QQQ being tested if things get really bullish. I'm sorry, bearish. Otherwise, I'm still looking to see if we can gap back up and test this high and hit the 12 again and see if price reclaims it. So overall trend, even on the 1 day, is technically still bullish. We're above the 200. Anytime we're in an uptrend and above the 200, we're still bullish. So this pullback hasn't set us up for a trend like this, where price loses my 200 week weighted moving average and pulls back like this. We haven't received a bearish cross here either. So to me, again, since this crossover happened, we've been in an uptrend. So again, I don't see us next week testing this, but again, anything can happen. We just need to see if there's a catalyst that'll pull us back. Everybody's looking at Nvidia to see what they'll do. So I don't know, maybe that'll be the move. But if we see price jumping here and we start to reclaim, because we've been in these pullbacks and sometimes our mindset gets stuck in one direction, don't be so stuck that you don't pivot to the idea that we're now recovering and making a bounce back up. So if you see price reclaiming your EMAs like from the 1 hour, 4 hour, so forth, follow that trend until it's no good. The real test for me will be whether or not we can get back above like 618, 619. Does that make sense? Someone is on with their TV. I'm just gonna mute you if I can see. Let's see. Oh, thank you. I think you muted yourself. All right, so I don't have any questions in the chat so far, so we're good. So the story with QQQ that I will follow is always the same plan, right? I'm going to look at where we are from the previous week, which I told you. I mean, technically, even on the previous week, we're still inside this weekly candle. So for me, a real breakdown would be if we start to lose that low. Obviously, we tested it right at the 12, gave a nice wick, but we didn't lose it. Jamie, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. I was typing out my questions, but the thing disappeared. My question is, in regards to the 1 day time frame, since it's on an order block, isn't that going to reverse? Since it hits the order block, doesn't that mean that that's a demand zone? And then
Yeah, I
buyers will
see what you're
step
saying.
in.
I get your question. So you're basically expecting us to react here, right, and bounce out.
Yes.
So here's the thing. We can say that, right? Ideally, because we have all of this demand in this area, that we will pop out. But let me just show you something real quick.
Okay.
Okay, just take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is live right now. Hold on. Let me exit this for a second. So if you ever are needing practice with your entries, your exits, etc., you have that on crypto. You can paper trade crypto through here and just buy, sell. Um, you're going to use your, oops, I didn't want that. You're going to use your, I forgot how to get there. I was just there. Trading panel. Okay, so paper trading through TradingView is an option. And so you can click this on. I did a chart on Bitcoin recently, just paper trading. Now, as you can see, Bitcoin is in one of these order blocks, but look what's happening. The selling pressure is still overcoming all of this demand right here so far. Now, what I'm anticipating on Bitcoin is that since we're so close to what you can say is like the edge or the bottom, there's a chance that we can wick through that, but there is going to be still an opportunity to bounce once we get through the low. So they can clear this. If you look back at Bitcoin, just last week, we're going to do a replay real quick. See this order block? It's no longer here in real time, right? So just because we get to an area of demand or an order block does not mean that with enough selling pressure or in the reversal, enough buying going on that we can't crush through these, even on the 1 day. They are more, I say they hold more weight on the higher time frames, but it does not mean that in this case, sellers can take over because as you see, if we get out of this, Bitcoin lost this area right here and they fell under 98. So guess what happened? That order block no longer exists for us. And we've actually made it to the second lower one. And as you can see, still pulling back. So yes, in theory, you want to start watching when price gets to these order blocks. And so QQQ has my attention here. However, it has not proven itself yet to really be on a reversal. So I'm not really sold just yet because there's still a chance to come lower, even like into the
Mm,
590s right here.
okay.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Just because I'm just getting used to this other block um indicator. I've never used it before.
It is important to know like what that means. And so again, you've seen how we reacted as soon as we got here. There were some buy orders that obviously pushed us back up, and there was anticipation of buying happening in this zone. It just wasn't enough to reclaim the trend on the 1 day yet. So you really can start watching it from like the, let's see what the 1 hour did. Okay, so the 1 hour printed a buy signal. I'm using AYN indicator. And it did print a buy signal, but look what we did. We basically popped out of these order blocks,
Mm,
and we tested the 12, and then we closed losing the 12 EMA. Now, Google had news, right? So we'll have to see. Again, it did pop, but with so much selling happening and take profits, I wouldn't be surprised if Google pulls back at opening. But again, we'll see. So
okay.
we haven't reclaimed our 12 EMA in the 1 hour. So again, the trend in the shorter time frames, we're seeing a pop, but on the 1 day, we still haven't seen where we've taken back the 12 EMA. So I'm still going to keep a watch there. Something I noted too, and which is why at opening, the puts that I had Friday, I closed them right at opening. I didn't want to wait. I raised my stop loss pretty tight and was stopped out pretty quickly. Um, because I knew we were going to hit this 200 as I start seeing where we were on the 4 hour. Look at how nicely we reacted here. And if we see that happen on the 1 day where price ever pulls back to that 200, you probably can expect a nice reaction right there because even on the 4 hour, look how long it's been since we've tapped that 200.
Mm,
So the trend has just been pretty strong for quite a while. So this was a nice reaction. And you can see here on the 4 hour, and so with the order blocks that we have on the wolf chart, this would have been gone at opening, this order block right here. It would have disappeared because price sold right through it. But it all it did was just grab the liquidity here, grab any stop losses that might have been here, and then it executed a nice pop. But again, we're still off the 12. So can't really say that we're ready to just go long on it yet. It was a nice day trade for me to say for calls, but I'm I'm not sold on it. Let's see. I have
Thank
some.
you.
You're welcome. So let's see. I'm just gonna go back to some of the questions. Even if you are trading BTC, will trading view charts be live after market? Yes, Bitcoin is 24 hours. So what we're looking at is actually live action. If I wanted to take a quick trade from the 15-minute or 30-minute, you can literally do that. Just click your sell order, set your stop loss, and you'll be paper trading live. So one of the ways that we were, a lot of us probably fast track, perfecting our entries and exit is just spending time paper trading crypto, even weekdays, weekends, is just live. So in order to be bullish or bearish, we need to break the high or low of the previous week's candle. Not necessarily, because you can have a nice trade setup within that weekly candle. So even if we don't break the high and the low of it, that doesn't mean you can't trade it, right? Going to your shorter time frames. What I'm saying with the weekly is it gives a more significant overview of what might be happening. So if I see any stock break that weekly high or low, then I see it as a breakout. So if we look at when we started to do that, let's just take another peek at the weekly. So let's look at this candle right here. And as you can see, when QQQ broke the high of that, and also broke the high of a candle here on the weekly chart, we just continue to be in an uptrend. So every time we're breaking the high, just like if you were managing it from the 1 day, you're just getting your continuations. So
You didn't
we
even
did,
need your cheese and sour cream.
No.
someone's not on mute, guys. Okay. So that's all it means. So you can take this same candle, as you know, we were very profitable off of this same candle, working it from our shorter time frames. But I always kept in mind that, hey, we would need to really break the low of this Friday and hold under it, and we didn't. As soon as we were opening up, we got a nice bounce up. So I couldn't say on Friday it was time to get puts because we respected the low of this candle pretty good. Yeah, it just says that the selling pressure is heavy. Like when you're seeing that type of sell-off like we see here in Bitcoin, it just means that sellers are really taking over right now. Um, and so until they drive price to where we see buyers starting to step in, it just looks weak. This all looks weak. My order block is part of the wolf chart. There are indicators out there. I think one indicator is um I'll have to look it up. Haven't used it in so long, but there are indicators that you can use that give you order blocks. I don't know the exact settings, but Lux Algo would have order blocks. And what you're doing is you're following smart money into these areas of demand and supply, right? To see where we have sellers position and where we have buyers position. So all of this, if Bitcoin ever pops up here, we're going to be doing the same thing, trying to see if buyers can really drive price through here. Same thing happening, it's just in reverse right now because we're pulling back. So if you let's just let's take it to the 1 day. How do you mark off order blocks? You can literally draw it for yourself. And I always take my chart, like a blank chart, and I do practice identifying areas of demand because you can definitely train your eyes to that. And so you can start to look to see the last lows that we've had where we've put ourselves into an uptrend or where we start to see selling pressure hit us and put us into like a downtrend. And you can start to kind of find those areas that might indicate areas of demand. So if you wanted to look in your chart and start to find demand, you could just look at the tools that TradingView has and you can draw, let's say we want to draw a rectangle. So maybe I might put this as an area to watch, right? For one, we have a gap, but price did a nice reaction here once we got to this low and we've been in an uptrend. So this could potentially be a demand zone because we haven't come back to it since we gapped up here. And so maybe this might be an area you want to put as demand. Or you can just find areas that price are reacting to and consider this your demand zones. Um, Interesting, we have quite a bit of gaps down under in the 500s and higher 400s for QQQ. But yeah, so you can start to watch and do a lot of training on identifying demand zones, right? Because we can see, like, even in here, why this will become a demand zone and why price will start to bounce here every time it's tried to wick through it is because even with the selling pressure, we hit a bottom, we hit a support area, and price bounced here, came back, bounced here, did a little choppiness here, and then did the same thing, bounced right back up. So here we are again, full circle. So TradingView has all these cool tools. Another one that I'm going to add to my chart for next week is just anchor VWAP at the all-time high of QQQ. And so what that's going to do is follow the fact that price has lost this all-time high anchor VWAP and we have just been in a downtrend. So you can even use the anchor VWAP from gap ups or again using it as a stock, tracking the stock's all-time high performance from here. So as you can see, if we even just look at anchor VWAP from this all-time high, I think it was this, yeah, this candle, we've lost that as well. So just a lot of clues in the chart and a lot of tools that you can use to help you understand the overall trend. If you put a anchor VWAP to this gap up here that we recently had, just another clue that we've moved further down. So to get familiar with these tools, you just play around with them. And then also you can go to TradingView's YouTube channel, and they do a lot of tutorials that even help you learn how to put on Fibonacci. So what I currently have on my chart is the wolf chart. So I'm going to pop that back in. And also AY indicator is one that we've been using recently, and it does yield a nice success rate with buy sell. My chart is showing QQQ on the 3-minute charts is a strong resistance at 609.12. On the 3-minute, yeah. Now remember, these are easier to crush through, right? Like if we just get enough buyers jumping in, might get choppy, but on the smaller time frames, these will hold weight. But with enough buying and selling from these shorter time frames, price can really break through these. The clear breakout is going to be reclaiming 613.37. And so like even when I was working this out with like Chat GPT and Black Wolf, I was getting I want to say it was telling me like, see here, you're in a decent spot as long as QQQ stays under 612.50, 613. Well, it's picking up that there's a lot of resistance as we hit these zones. So a better breakout for me would be if we do break above that 613 on QQQ. When I say hold under it, I do mean like a candle closing under it. Even if I'm dropping down to the 5-minute candle, to see if price can start holding under any type of key area. So like if we go to the 1 day, ideally to confirm that this order block is really eliminated because we've sold through it, I would want to see that a candle can close under the price that created this order block. So 588.50, which I've said for some time now, 588 is a key watch point for QQQ. And so even when we got here on this candle, the lowest it got was 589.05. And then from there, it bounced right back. So 588.50, if we start seeing a 1 day candle and these hourly candles holding strong under here, that in theory could lead us to testing the 200, which we haven't done since May. after April's sell-off. All right, so I will, thanks for sharing it. SR breaks and retest, and then we also have support and resistance, high volume boxes. So those are some indicators that can give you order blocks. Today, net breaking the previous day's high or low in sometimes an indication of direction of the opening of the day. Yep, that is another indication of opening. In fact, because of where we were in QQQ Friday, I did not jump fast because I wanted to see where we were, which was challenging those high and lows that I was watching from the weekly and the 1 day. I wanted to see if we were going to bounce or sell off. All right, so let's look at another chart because I know you guys wanted to look at a few. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of our chat and see what was popped in there. SoFi. I want to look at SoFi. Let's see. Just look at SoFi. SoFi has come so far. So this looks like a double top to me right here on SoFi. SoFi has lost their 1 day 12 EMA. They did hit an order block. And I was telling someone they were asking about SoFi, and I've been having 28, 26 as an area to watch. And I can't remember which candle triggered me to watch that price, but even so, more like 12, 28, 24, this candle here. But yeah, price fell right under that. So as soon as the price fell even under that area, that became a clue to get sharp positions on. To short SoFi right to this order block. They've wicked through this order block before, so it's becoming weaker and weaker every time we're chopping in these order blocks. So that's another way to look at it, is every time price is visiting these order blocks and chopping through them, we're just getting weaker. And so eventually, with enough selling pressure, that could lead us a bit lower on SoFi. And most stocks did give a nice bounce on Friday. But if you look at the overall trend on SoFi, we know we're in an uptrend. Um, we haven't even broke October's low. This is an inside monthly candle. We are still, we closed within the previous candle's range, even though we challenged the high of it. SoFi had a nice break once it broke the high of this candle and went all the way to the 32.73 high that we put in. So again, if you see SoFi starting to get under the low of this candle, that might be something to watch, 25.66. Doesn't mean you can't trade it. It just means that that's giving you a more significant clue of what price action is doing. Um, but yeah, SoFi is off of our 12 EMA on the shorter time frames. There is support here, and you should worry more if SoFi starts to break under like $24. It'll probably catch 22 before it bounces. It's been off the 200 since May, like a lot of other stocks that have been in uptrend. So if that was to happen, then you probably want to worry a little bit more on SoFi. So the verdict on SoFi is really you can just kind of see what we do in performance to against Friday's candle, and just know if price comes back around $29 and you're trading it like, well, it did. On this Friday candle, price bounced back to this fair value gap and did a nice reaction and pulled right back. So SoFi is currently short term in a downtrend as well, and off the 12 EMA. I don't say that I'm ready to buy. It did bounce really nice on this 200 after doing it on November 7th. So you can probably watch like the 4 hours, see if we get a nice bounce again out of this order block following the test of the 200 from Friday. If that happens, you still want to be seeing price reclaim your EMAs on like the 1 hour and so forth. And so if you see that happening, just make sure that you are setting maybe some alerts to say like, hey, if SoFi starts to get in this area, which it looks like we have a crossover or a cross under. We do. So like right here on the 1 hour, we had this cross and this bearish crossover, excuse me, where price is actually under the 12 EMA is crossing under the 200. And so there's still a chance for SoFi to pull back to this 26 again. So just keep that in mind. It's still in a downtrend. Let me check for questions. What stocks ticker you follow week to week? Always keep them. I'm sorry, let me blow my nose for 1 second. I can't hold it. Okay. I use a screener, so I screen for my stocks for the week. So Sunday prep is actually going through my screener and looking for stocks. So I have a few screeners. I keep a previous candle break screener because as you can see, there's a lot of green here. And then I can go down to where what's looking weak as well based on different charts. And that's just looking at previous candle breaks. So I have multiple screeners that I look at. What's oversold, a MACD screener. So I'm just looking for the best setups, even if it's a short position, what's gonna have the high probability, better risk to reward to take. And I just make plans for that. Outside of that, I just keep a watch list of the Max 7 and what they're doing. And QQQ is like my day-to-day go-to. So let's see, what else did we want to follow? I do set my screeners up. I'm like screener crazy. I play around with screeners all the time. On my YouTube channel, I do have some videos of some recent screeners. One is looking at the pre-market break. So adding in pre-market high and low for day trades, game changer. And so with a screener, you can watch to see when that actually happens on which stocks are breaking their pre-day high or low. And so that screener can give you some nice day trade setups, even with penny stocks. Okay, so we did SoFi, which was a top watch. Let's look at Uber. Lots of demand on the 1 hour here with Uber, so that means that it's going to definitely chop around here. So Uber did challenge that monthly candle low on here, which was like at price 91.18. But again, as you see, they're in a lot of demand, so they can just get real choppy here. I have a earnings. I could take this off so we can just look at the chart. All right, so really they haven't lost on the weekly. The 12 EMA, there's still a wick here touching it, so we'll have to see how they open up on Monday. But they're probably going to chop around this zone here and likely get weaker if they start to get under like $85. So Uber may just give you some swings in and out of this range. Still within last week's weekly candle. Yeah, there's a lot of demand here, so it kind of just can chop around between like 88 and 95. And then it can get weaker, but ultimately, even if it does, it's just going to keep falling into these order blocks. It would take a lot of selling pressure to kind of push that through. So if they start getting under 85, they can come through to probably like test 81.80, but again, it's just going to take a lot of selling pressure. So I don't see anything special on Uber. They're in demand. So you really just want to see when like the 1 day, as I'm saying, it seems like the same story for every stock. They just have to start showing strength on these hourly time frames to try to give us a signal that they're truly going to be reversing. But this is some pretty solid green. So the darker the green on these order blocks on my chart means that that's just how much more demand there is and how much more stronger these order blocks are. So again, Uber, if anything, may be one to chop around. But if you start seeing it reclaim your EMAs like on the 12, like reclaiming does not mean panic if you're in shorts and it looks different on the 5 minute. Like if you're trading a day trade and you see a stock pop up to this, some people use the 9 EMA, I use the 12. I don't panic when I see this because if I'm in shorts, well, obviously I would have sold here, but if it bounced back here, I would be looking for a re-entry on shorts if the sentiment is still bearish. Or I would start to look for real clues that we're breaking out. One, I'm going to get this wolf trend moving average crossover. It's going to give an arc. This is the arc. If I see the arc, my next theory is that we have to reclaim the 12 for more bullish move. That happens, and then you see what happens with Uber. It bounces all the way up. Well, in this case, none of that has happened yet. So I'm not looking to grab calls, especially looking at the 1 hour on Uber. 1 second. Bitcoin is just going through it. I got an alert on it. So yeah, Uber is not ready, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like to start buying calls after a significant pullback. I just don't see it yet. So better clue would be for me if I get an inverse arc from this WTMA, and even better once we start getting our price to reclaim these EMAs. So I mean, whatever EMA you're using, if it's the 5, the 9, some people use the 13, you're looking to see that price can reclaim it. And still, so if it does, if price rejects at your 200, guess what? You're still in a downtrend because anytime on any time frame you have price under your 200, which is this yellow, it's red for me because it's dynamic. So whenever price breaks under it, it's going to turn red. Whenever price is under my 200, even if we start to get a bounce, if we don't reclaim my 200, the overall trend, if I'm looking at it from the 1 hour, is still bearish. Okay, I see some chats. So let's see. I'm not going to cover liquidity mapping. We can take that maybe into like a technical call during the week, because it does take a lot more. Also, Sean has put out a lot of videos on liquidity mapping, so I won't really cover it. But I mean, you can start to eyeball it as you start to train your eyes. For me, when you start getting these wicks, after these sell-offs, like this was a gap down, obviously an earning reaction. That's when you can start looking. This would be a liquidity zone, just looking at it from an eyeball, just scanning quickly through the charts. So I could tag you, Stacy, to the master classes on liquidity mapping. Wolf, NVIDIA, IWM. Someone wanted to look at BMNR, which I mean, you got to look at what the crypto is doing overall. It's just not impressive right now. You can't hold losers too long either. If you just really start to see yourself going deep into it, like I don't know if you guys have leaps on BMNR. Who asks for BMNR? If you have questions, you can unmute yourself, but I don't like it right now. I'm just looking at the higher time frames and just okay, so maybe if we get price tapping 30, in fact, I'll just go ahead and set myself an alert while I'm watching. Maybe if we get price getting back here to 30, watch there for not necessarily a save, but a potential bounce. And then it was still on the other time frames have to start showing strength. But if you see price on BMNR get to about 30 to 28 range, watch there. That may be a better opportunity, even if it pushes down to like 20. to start considering a buy, but you still want to see that transition on those lower time frames to show that it's time to buy. So like even here, my 200 is positioned more around $19-20. So that may be better buy area. Right now, crypto is just looking weak. So any of these um BMNR, IBIT, et cetera, they're going to be weaker following crypto. I think the same, someone said coin. Yeah, so even coin, if you're looking at it, is still in a downtrend. And we have, in fact, it doesn't look good on the 1 day because we're getting that bearish cross, which if we look back in history, when we got it here, look what coin did. Once we got that crossover here, we call it a death cross. Look what it did before it came back. So I just don't see a need to be trying to, what is it, catch a falling knife. Before you jump into a put, make sure they don't fake you because they could really bounce Monday at opening, and then you're trying to short it, and they're just taking liquidity every which way. So just make sure direction is saying on Monday, take a put, right? If it's not, don't do that. I'll have the recording posted, most likely on my YouTube channel. I'll just post it there. So let's just make sure we have direction on all stocks that we're looking at. You still have to make sure the trend is saying that on Monday. Okay, so IWM was another request. All right, so for IWM, let's see. It definitely held support right around here at what was the low of this? A nice smooth bottom, which I don't know. We could revisit the bottom again on IWM. I'm thinking it's going to pull back more so because of the uncertainty of rate cuts. I'm going to look a little bit deeper into the whole talk about rate cuts today before we open Monday because I want to better understand, what more to come from the Fed and the possibility of getting the rate cuts, I believe, next month. And so far, because of the news that we may not get it or just any chatter of it not being for sure, is sending the market and any rates, any stocks like even SoFi that are sensitive to rate cuts into a pullback. And so that's the same thing we're seeing with IWM and small caps. So it could revisit. So look at Friday's low on IWM if you're looking to trade it. I don't know if you're what position you guys are in, but watch Friday's low. Everybody's saying IWM. Um, YouTube is just net, and it should say Pretty Hustle somewhere there too. All right, so look at the fact that we're off of our 12 EMA. We did bounce a little bit from Friday, but again, most stocks did that. Most stocks did that. On the monthly chart, did did we close under last month's low? We kind of did. Closing price was 237.48 and the low was 237.56 from the previous month. So, if we're staying under 237.56 and opening up that way Monday, or if you see price fall there at any point, yeah, I would be a little bit worried about IWM because now we've broken the low of what's this October. And so then you have to map out where the heck price is going because that could potentially start to lead us to a weekly candle falling off of our 12 EMA. On the wolf chart, I'm getting an arc forming and it's already crossing over another bearish signal. So a lot of things are aligning to even more maybe we do get more pullback. And I'm just going to keep that in mind. So I'm actually going to go ahead, since we're even talking about it, and I'm going to set my alert for IWM 237.56. And somewhere around here, if price is holding that, I want to potentially look at shorts. And so you can just layer that in with previous day low and high. So if price breaks that, you could take it to the weekly. You can say, well, if price breaks this, what's next? Potentially the weekly candle here, right? This wick right here. We've already challenged it and again bounced, but if price comes back and it loses 237.56, doing my top-down analysis, I have to consider that we make it to 236.27, which is the low price of this candle. I've been talking. Do you guys have questions? I could just keep talking,
Sorry,
but
just a quick question. So
yeah, go
you
for
said
it.
you set the alarm on your alert on the body of the candle. Why didn't you set the alert on the wick?
So you mean like the high point?
The low
Oh, okay.
for
Well, I'm just
IWM,
going
because you're
through.
like, if it breaks,
Mhm.
is it too?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
When you, yeah, so you set your alert for 237.48. So you set it on the body, not the wick. It's basically the close of that candle as opposed to where it wicked to, where it rejected. For
So I set it on the monthly because even though it wicked here, this is where price is closest to.
okay.
So
Oh,
that's going to be my closest watch, right? And then when I go
mm,
down to my other time frames, I would then be able to set my additional signals. But the first watch is going to be making sure that if I'm going to be bearish on IWM, they actually hold under this price here based off of
at
the
it
monthly chart.
closed.
And I could
Okay.
even leave myself a note. Note I usually do. Previous month low, just something like that. Just because I'm visual with it, so if I'm on any time frame, I'm gonna see my note and I'm gonna know like, okay, that's why that's there for me to just be reminded.
Oh,
And so
okay.
from there, look at this candle here, which was October 6th. That's when we were that low. And then on the weekly, I would probably then challenge the candle here because it's the next recent low from the weekly time frame to watch. I'm not going to worry about anything up here yet because I'm not getting enough of a bullish signal yet to kind of consider all of these highs. Now, if price starts to hold strong above 237.56 with nice reversal signals, then yeah, I want to start mapping out where we're going on upside. So my next low point and alert would probably be 236.27. That is the low of this candle. And then you can break it down and walk it down to the 1 day. So all we're doing, guys, is called a top-down analysis. We're just looking at multiple time frames. You don't want to get stuck just staring at the 5 minute or the 15 minute and never being aware of where we can go in terms of price from your higher time frames. So on my homework, it's always a top-down analysis on what I'm watching. Because I just need to know where we're going and where we can land as far as the key support and resistance. So on the 1 day, let's see. There's just going to be some potential choppiness down, but I still feel like if we start breaking these low points, ideally we got to come test that 200 on the 1 day. That's just a theory. I just would keep it as something to keep in mind if I start seeing price continue to fall weaker and weaker, especially under 233. And so that's like a higher time frame analysis of what's going on with the stock. So then you can just map out your trades from your shorter time frames. On the 1 hour, it has, let's see, has it reclaimed our 12 EMA? Is it on it? Let's see. Nope. In fact, all we did was a test and a rejection. Here's your test, and then here's your rejection. So it can get choppy. If it starts to lose 235, it can come down to 233 and so forth. Any questions?
I mean, I learned something new today. Usually I would mark the previous month's low and include the wick as opposed to where it closed that month. So, yeah, I'm
Um,
taking it.
well, keep in mind, I did that. I did. This is our current monthly candle, so we haven't closed it yet, which just so happens to
Oh,
align.
November.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. I was
Yeah, you know what?
distracted.
You probably
Okay.
were like, well, I get what you're saying. Now, you should consider the body as well if you want to just say as another watch point, right? So let's say we bounce from 237.56. Well, maybe we do come challenge just where we close this candle at in the body of it. So that's not a bad watch,
Mm.
but yeah, I did. But I'm looking at this candle for October because we're still in November.
Oh, yes. Got you. Clear, clear. Thank you.
I'm glad you said that. I didn't want you to leave confused.
Oh, thanks.
What is the best time frame for intraday trading, or do you also do top down? I'm stuck on top down analysis because I'm a perfectionist and I need to know exactly where we're going. And I just think it's a good habit. But let's just say, for example, somebody asked about Baba anyway. So Baba, I didn't have a lot of time to go do a full top down analysis and make my move. I saw that there was negative news and I just took a quick scan of like the 1 day chart, I believe, and then I just looked more into the smaller time frames of where we could go, and I had to make my move. And so that might happen sometimes. Like you may get a real strong move and you don't have enough time to go through it all. I just got to get in a trade and let my stop loss do the rest for me. So what I did know as I was looking is that even if I was shorting Baba, the ultimate place to land was going to be around that 152.07. There was just a key order block. I don't remember which time frame that it was going to pull back to. And so it actually pulled all the, I think it was the 1 hour. It was the 1 hour. There was an order block. It's still here because we wicked through it. And I don't know. I don't know if they were trying to fake people out of position on Baba yet. I have to look at the news that dropped. But basically, there was some news that Alibaba was working with the China military as against the US. And so as soon as that news dropped, I just knew that was bad news for any stock related to China. And so look at the candle that you got. You got a $9 drop. I didn't get the initial move, but as soon as the news dropped, I just knew like, hey, this might be worth it to jump in, set your stop loss. And so I was able to capture some of that move. I was on it. I wasn't playing about. I saw that and I was just like, yeah, we're going down. But I had to still take a moment, even if I took the trade, to know exactly where we were going to have some challenges before I just get too impulsive and buy too much, too much. So I did take a more cheaper position on shorting Baba. It still went over 100% in the trade, but as you can see, right into an order block, that price has been over since September was a nice place to say, you know what, let's wrap it up. And so my ultimate bottom was 152.07, and I left I think only one contract open to capture that. So Bobble was a good short. They are also pulling back to a monthly fair value gap. And so I'm watching to see if maybe they do push a little bit lower when the overnight session and pre-market go. And so what I would be watching is for price where it's at now, if it continues to pull back, to be choppy, but to come and at least challenge this. This is a March candle at 148.43. That's a maybe. I'm not gonna say that's gonna happen. I'm just saying if I start seeing it get weaker and weaker under 152.07, my ideal target would be this wick right here. So sometimes if it's like a day trade, I may not always have enough time to do the full top-down analysis. Gotta let the stop loss do some work. Look at Bitcoin, guys. Remember that 1 day order block? Just from where we started on this session, it's still just crushing down. So I could just set my alert. I wish I'd had my paper trade going. and wait for it to get like right here at this bottom and see what it does. If Bitcoin is starting to fall under 92, I think we got to come down to 90. Okay, so that was Baba. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping around. Let me go back to some of the chat and see what else we have. So some people that I coach use the 9, the 20, the 200. Um, I use the wolf chart, so it's going to be the 12 EMA and the 200 weighted moving average, and then this customized EMA. Um, some people like to use the 13 and the 20. Some people I've coached use like the 5. So you just find what works for you as far as chart setups. And the basic concept is always going to be the same if you're below your, let's say 5 EMA, if you use the 5, you're bearish. If you're below your 200, your overall trend is just bearish. So if I'm below my 200 on the 5 minute, and let's say Baba was starting to give a full bounce, right? We reclaimed the 12, which is what it did here on the 5 minute. I have to start considering like where can Baba go if it was to just kind of like start pushing. Well, technically, as long as we're under the 200 on my 5 minute, even on this 5 minute chart, we're bearish, and my ideal target would be to test around the 200 wherever it's positioned. And that concept just needs to remain the same. Like a lot of people, let's just use QQQ for an example. Well, we can use SPY since we haven't looked at SPY yet. A lot of times, we can get so scared of, I guess, shifting our mindset, right? Because we've been in a downtrend. I mean, look at our downtrend for SPY, and we're just looking at the 5 minute. It really got stronger once on the 5 minute you got this cross here, right? The debt cross. And look at the sell-off here. Well, some people are like, oh man, I took profit too soon. I sold too soon. You might get this, right? But even if you're just looking at the very basic concept of just your EMAs, we never reclaimed that EMA. All we did was come up, test it, pull back. It's like a stairway concept. Even this little sharp pop right here, you would want to at least see a candle in the 5 minute give you a continuation. That didn't happen. You can look at the candles here. And so none of this scares me anymore. As a beginner, I'm taking profit, but I'm always taking profit too soon. And I missed to capture more of a move. So look at Thursday. If you would have sold here, that's fine because that was like the opening move. But then after this bounce, if you saw your candle starting to reject your like shorter look back, right? So for me, my 12 EMA, then you can just get back in puts. This doesn't scare me. None of that scares me. So the whole Thursday, you could have just rolled puts all the way down, which I did, and left a runner and captured even this final gap down at opening. So don't be afraid of these little green candles trying to reclaim it. You want to see strong continuation like here, right? So when we actually do reclaim it, that's when you want to start grabbing your calls. And where are we going to go? Remember, we're under 200, so our next test has to be a test of the 200. We failed it so far. How can I turn off the cloud in the settings? Super basic question. I'm sorry. Stacy, I'll share that one with you in the Discord because I need to play with it to do it. But you can keep pro on your wolf chart and then just go into the settings. I forgot what to click and just hide the clouds. And just have your 200. Also, I'll hide it and just kind of look at the basics for a minute. So I pop it on and off as I need. You're welcome. So someone said that, yeah, so don't be afraid of those green candles. Don't get so lost in a panic or be so like you overthink just even taking a trade or when to close a trade. Remember the basic concepts of just where we are, supply and demand. Are we above our EMA or below it? If we're looking at the 200, I really recommend the 200. Um, whether you're using the EMA, SMA, WMA, whatever you're using, just remember if we're under it, even when we get this pop, I know that, hey, unless price gets above this and keeps breaking out, we're not doing much more than this. And so I took a short actually. So just don't overthink trading too much to where you're just missing out on all these nice opportunities, even if you're just taking a quick day trade. Someone said LABU. I've never looked at that. Biotech. Biotech looks good. Probably where some of the money is rotating to be honest with you. Look at that on the monthly. Remember I say those monthly breaks? So what if this price can continue to hold above 132.51? Then this move can continue. Um, on biotech, this is LABU, which is going to be like, this is like a TSLL to Tesla, but this is looking at the overall biotech sector. So with it breaking the high of October, that's one really nice clue. We're getting a reclaim of the 12. We're getting an inverse arc with the wolf trend moving average for me. And then if I break that down to the 1 week, here's where you're going to see where we can get some choppiness. Now, because we're in this order block and we've hit it, we get a wick, but it does not mean that we still can't push through here with enough buying pressure or bulls showing up. What you probably would want to watch if this stock does push through this weekly order block, that we probably can test as high as like 148. And that's where you really want to start to be cautious, 148 and then 150-ish. But it doesn't mean that even though we're here on the weekly, we can't keep gapping up because on the 1 day, we have for sure an opportunity to get to like that 144, 144, and then maybe like around 150-ish, somewhere around there. So you have to be cautious because of what the weekly is showing us, but that does not mean just like we see in real time. Look at this. This is insane. We're seeing Bitcoin just crush through a bullish order block. Doesn't mean that this stock can't push through these bearish order blocks. This is going to be the first test of it on the 1 day. So definitely be careful if price does shoot up around 144. So it looks like they closed at 133. So there's still an opportunity to catch a bull move on this one. Just pay attention to that monthly high that we just broke. And then also, you can see if we break 135, and then your test at least can get you like 144 before you start getting a little more cautious of the trade there. APLD. Okay, 1 second, guys. Okay, kids were starting to run around crazy. All right, so APLD, let's see. We did challenge the monthly low. If we're looking at the higher time frames, they're still in an uptrend. They definitely have not broken their most recent high. In fact, they're starting to pull back. On the weekly, they lost $7. They did break their previous week. So that's one thing to watch, that even if it bounces, you want to see if it can reclaim $28. So if you get a bounce and you start to see it looking a little bullish, it still needs to reclaim like $28. So I pulled back to my 12 EMA, and it wicked through this order block. So if price starts getting under like $21, then ideally you may have to let this one come down to like $18. And I'm not saying that's going to be where if it truly finds support, that's where it may have a nice bounce. So APLD, like the range to watch is to see if it can get back above 22, $23 and hold. I think it closed at 23.65. If it can do that, then you're still watching to see again, on those small, shorter time frames, if we reclaim the 12 EMA or what again, whichever one you're using. For me, it's going to be my 12 EMA. Otherwise, if you see price starting to get weaker into $21, $20, look to see what it does at around 18, $17 because you'll get that test of the 200 on the 1 day, and they haven't been around there since June. So you could get a nice reaction there. Just walk that one down. They are currently at the 200 on the 4 hour, but they're still looking weak with price closing under the price of the where the 200 is positioned. So they're still looking weak. And I would think the same thing. Even on the 4 hour, it looks like they can get as low as $14. So this one is not a buy for me. You'd have to, again, at least start seeing those hourly time frames give you some type of clue. And then you just see what happens as it moves up. Like, so can we reclaim it on the 4 hour? Can we reclaim it on the daily? So forth. Nothing special yet on that one. I bet you guys are like, what is good like to buy? Everything is like on a downtrend. All right, so let's take a look. Yeah, you're gonna get that practice. I've been telling you to jump in. You gotta jump in. Let your stop loss say you're wrong. Sometimes it's too good on these puts right now. It's good until it's not. So there is a time when I remember like we would just be falling back. Like I remember last year a pullback, and I could not transition back into a bullish mindset. And so I just sat there like a sitting duck. You don't want to be that when price starts to reverse. Like that April pullback, there are too many of us, if you didn't buy enough, regretting that because of how much stock ran May through, I mean, really October. And so you're caught trying to catch your entries, but ideally, if you would have started buying once it bottomed in like April, at the end of April, May, you would have had some nice trades. So Wolf looks like it needs to come down some more. This one can come down as low as like $8. There's nothing on this one saying buy. You might want to see this one get to like 930-ish and $8. In that range, pay attention there. Again, it still has to break some key levels. It did break the monthly low. So in this case, it broke that's October's low, and it's pretty close to challenging August high if you look at it from the monthly. So yeah, this one can still keep pulling back all the way down to $8. But you want to see if it starts losing $10 and then just maybe take it a dollar, $9, and then if it's losing $9, and ideally you want to try to buy it somewhere around in this $8 range. I'm not gonna say buy it, sorry. You want to see if we start to find support in this $8 range. Don't just buy because it pulled back to a price. You need to confirm that
Alert
that
from
price is going to hold support.
YOG. Educator. Warning sign. Announcements. What if
Someone has, okay, thank you for muting. We can do Google. I just don't remember where Google was. Okay, so Wolf, I don't see a go for that one. Look at Google list from the last, oh wait, sorry. Is that, yeah, look at it from way back when I was leaving some notes on 1 day bearish order block. So when it broke an order block, and so when we're looking at bearish order blocks, this is probably a good example. This was we have to go to the weekly for that. So there was a bearish order block here at one point based on my notes. And so look at what price did once it actually broke it. It broke it, it came back and retested it, held there, and then it moved. That's when you confirm that we've cleared the order block. When price can come back and test that same area, which was once the top of an order block, so that's like breaking through it and clearing all that these sell orders that might have been sitting here, Look at the break on Google from there. It's insane, really. So we would have to probably get to like our after hours, extended hours, and see what they did. So Google peaked yesterday at 287.97 after that news came out. So what was the news? Is this the news? Google Invest? No, that was 2 hours ago. I thought there was something else that came out. I don't remember. I was over trading. I had a good week, so I really couldn't keep up with what everybody was posting about Google. There was some news on Google though, and oh, Warren bought. Okay, yeah, you're right. Everybody kept posting that he was buying, and so that gave a nice pop. But again, we'll see. I'm looking at every stock right now that has pulled back quite a bit, and I'm like, we'll see. But Google has remained strong. Apple has been pretty impressive too with this last pullback. So those two are still kind of like on my watch. He sold Apple. J and J. We can look at J and J. I want to I have to turn on Pro for J and J because I do recall that we had a floating candle. I did not hold a J and J position after I closed my last one, but I do want to see. See, we're getting a lot of wicks here at the top, but this is, I mean, an all-time high zone. But I think they really psychologically want to test 200 before, like, if we get a real pullback. So I am kind of looking to see if J and J is going to give a breakout. I would really watch like 196. The price can hold 196 or even somewhere here, confirm at 194.40. If it pulls back there, which it already did Friday, and it held above, I like that. I like that it broke this equal high zone and it broke out. So in my mind, I don't see why they wouldn't try to push to test that 200 zone. And they do on the 1 day have a level 3 that was confirmed on the 25th, which is when we have a candle closing above this trend line and above this 12 EMA. We call that a floating candle. And they've been trying to break. They've been getting some rejections, but again, with the market being as weak as it has been, J and J is holding it pretty solid. So I'll watch that one again next week. I do have an interest in it. ONDS. As I'm going through charts, if you have any questions, oh, this one looks good. Let me see what's happening here. Oh, look, it printed a buy too. This one looks pretty good. I need to see this next candle hold above the 12 EMA. It was a nice pullback and test of the 12 EMA, but we're so close to the 200 that I don't want to get, okay, hold on. Earnings posted on the 13th. Pre-market. Okay, so that's this candle here. So I think that you can probably watch this one. I would need to see it at least start to for sure hold over, what is this? 617. One sec. Okay, yeah, I would like to see this one hold over 617, and then a really nice signal would be breaking and holding over 734. So what I just did with that black line is pop in an anchor VWAP here. And so price did close above the anchor VWAP. So like if you're ever trying to trade something post earnings, I do really love the anchor VWAP because hold on. I like to use the anchor VWAP and I also like to look at the WTMA cloud as well with it. And so it kind of just gives me a better signal of what's happening. And so it broke above, like you wouldn't have really wanted to try to chase the opening high of that gap up because it then did pull back quite a bit. But then it gave a nice bounce. So from like 677, it bounced all the way down up to like 779. The opportunity in this one seems like they can go pretty high. So yeah, I would keep this one on watch post earnings as a watch, see what they can pull off. Their all-time high is, what is this? Like 19, almost $20. This is a pretty strong wick right here. In October at $11. So this one still has to prove itself a little bit. That was a nice earnings gap, but they still got to prove themselves. I wouldn't front run it. You need to confirm. This is a nice signal, but again, it is a post earnings reaction. So if they're not holding the 12 next week, then they're likely still going to pull back at some point somewhere here, maybe like $4. So that I would just caution making sure they're actually breaking out. A nice clue would be holding the 12. Like price is getting above it, but they need to actually hold that and start to retrace back up. Oracle. Any questions so far? Let me look at chat. That was a nice pop on Google, yeah, with the news, but I don't know. It's not selling for me. I need to see a continuation from that after hour break. Big Papa dropped the bag. That's fun. Oxy, BKNG, FRSH. A lot of these companies are going to start buying their shares at these type of lows, but VWAP is a free tool. It's not really considered the indicator on TradingView. So this panel I have here, I think some people have it positioned differently. You can go here and like under projections, where you find that long and short option, there is going to be an anchor VWAP. And so I did do a video on that on my YouTube channel, and it's basically like a how do I trade post earnings? Because I do like to trade post earnings if I'm not already like capturing the move before earnings. So pre-earnings and post earnings are where you want to get your money, not right when earnings is posting. There's opportunities before and after. And so an anchor VWAP kind of just helps guide you through that. So I like to pop out anchor VWAP in on all-time highs, previous earnings, or any like extreme gap ups or downs. And so that is just going to be under these panels. These are all like they're not considered indicators. So even if you only have like the version of TradingView that lets you get like one or two indicators, these don't count if I'm not mistaken as indicators. So you just go to anchor VWAP and pop it in. You pop it to whatever candle. So like if I wanted to pop it into this gap up here on Oracle, let's just do that real quick. I think this was an earnings gap up. So if we pop that here, look what happened when we lost that anchor VWAP, which is this black line, and then how it also aligned with everything happening on my wolf chart. We broke all the way down to 200. Oracle, man. I think they got to close this gap. I just don't know if that's going to truly happen. They can bounce around here, but ideally, if they can come close this gap on the 1 day, that would be nice. See the gap here from their June earnings is still left open. That's super bearish. I don't want to get super bearish, but I mean, at this point, that would be nice if they can close that gap. So overall in Oracle, just looking at the 1 day, very bearish. They've even lost the 200. Look for support if they start to get closer to $207. Probably worry if they get under $200. They're pulling back into a fair value gap, and they did a nice wick of the 12 EMAs. So, that could be support. This could have been support right at 210. They pulled back on the monthly. They, I mean, they've been really selling off since they lost October's low. So another example of what happens when we lose the monthly low with a lot of continuation too, because it pulled all the way back. So here on the 1 month, you're watching to see if Oracle can hold their 12 EMA. And if they can't, then yeah, I think you got to watch around 200. Let them get down to about 200 and 203, 205 in that range. And then ideally, maybe again, they'll close that gap. Another good watch would be this change of character area here at 191 and see if they pop there too. Doesn't look good for Oracle. WDC. Yes, I will save the end to do a quick top-down analysis. We can probably use like SPY as an example. WDC. Well, I guess I'm kind of doing a top-down analysis right now anyway. So this stock is Western Digital Corporation, and they recently did, if you look at the 1 month chart, what we're looking at when we talk about a top-down analysis on the stock is whether or not we're looking from the higher time frame and we're looking at the overall trend. So if you look at the overall trend, obviously this one is bullish. They broke out here in this area, got a break of structure, and they've been climbing ever since. So just continued candles, continuation when they break these highs of the previous month. And so they've done that for quite a few months since about June. And so here is where we've challenged the high of October. And I think we're like barely closing over that wick. So one thing that you would want to watch if you're watching WDC is whether or not we can break October's high. And so far, it looks like by a few pennies or cents we are. But look at that rejection. Was this a earnings or something? Okay, they posted earnings at the end of October. So look at the rejection here at this high. That means that this was a heavy take profit zone. And I believe this is their all-time high. They haven't been here before. Yep. So that's one thing to watch on this stock. Just a strong rejection once they hit that all-time high, which looks like it was last week. So even looking at last week's, I'm sorry, the week of November, I would look to see what's a weekly candle that we're near challenging. And so that would be the high of this candle here from November 3rd. So that would be another watch point. The high would be 167.50. Can we hold that or not? And then you just keep walking it down. Like I can technically say we broke the high, tested it, price closed at 157.83. Still something to watch to see if they try to recover and break a new high. So this was a nice pullback, but it just looks weak at that last high point they reached. So I wouldn't go too bullish without, finding a nice entry. Ideally, you want to get that good pullback. Where could they pull back? Once 148 maybe. That would be a nice area to look at. And then if you start seeing them fall under that previous week low, then you have to start letting it cool off some more. It was a nice move, if you caught it, but chasing the high, just make sure you have alignment, to enter that position, if you're going to jump back in or buy shares or calls or whatever you're doing with it. Let me go to chat. Did we do Meta? I'm sorry, I can't remember. No, we didn't do Meta. All right, I'm going to cover like two more, take any questions, and then wrap up. So we'll look at Meta. And I think I told y'all I was short in Meta. So I took a swing Thursday through Friday on Meta and QQQ and closed both of them at open. Look at where Meta got. Meta got to I'm sorry, 595.20. That was the low for Meta. I still trying to see where else Meta can go. Let's move to the monthly for a second. Look at Meta once this was money, you guys. Look at Meta once they lost their low for October. So if you had a signal here, right? Just sometimes, when you're prepping your charts on your favorite watches, just set an alert on the previous monthly candle. And just see, like, if that ever triggers, that might be go time because look at Meta from when it triggered at 6:45:57 all the way down. Okay. It it really sold off right there. Now we are in an area of demand on the weekly, and so you can see here that Meta will likely start to have, I don't know, like if I'm looking at Meta, I'm thinking like 586 is what I was watching. That puts us here in this zone where there even is a fair value gap on the weekly time frame. And I love when a stock pulls back to like a weekly fair value gap because then you just really start watching for that recovery from your like hourly candles to your 1 day. And so with Meta, I'm still sort of watching that if they start to hold under 600, that 586 mark. To me, Meta is still bearish. Look at the this is the weekly. Just look at the weekly. And then look at the daily. You got that cross, that bearish cross. And this started on October 30th. So if you were in puts on Meta, you really was winning. Did some news come out? I can't, oh, earnings, right? Yeah, earnings started all. So you really can also have an anchor VWAP on their earnings. Oops, wrong candle. And you can follow that as well. Remember, your anchor VWAP will follow even on a smaller time frame. So now I have an anchor VWAP. Look what we're doing. We still never reclaimed that. We're getting the bearish crossover. We still have an opportunity to pull back as like 586 and so forth. I just think I don't like Meta yet. But if I start seeing it hold 600 and not pulling back to this 586, and maybe that's the watch to see if 600 remains support. So the lowest it got on Friday was actually 590, 520. And so if Meta can remain over Friday's low, that is something to watch as support. And so you can watch and see if that really starts to hold as a solid support line. Yeah, it doesn't look good. So someone's named Costa Mano said, "What informs those alerts?" So what do can you explain your question? I think you mean like what triggers it, maybe?
Now, okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I meant as in how do you come up with those alerts? Are those liquidity mapping?
In this case, I believe for Meta, I mapped these out based off of order blocks. And what's crazy is I don't remember where. Okay, so here's the order block I'm watching. I think I was watching it from the 4 hour, and I believe there was an order block here. Let's just see. And it did match up with liquidity mapping too, because you see where the arc had recently formed, price pulled back to that. So that's one of your liquidity maps based off the 4 hour time frame. So there was a reason I had these alerts set. I just can't remember right now. But if you look at where we're at now on the 4 hour, I set 586.63 as the next test. And this would be an opportunity where they can do a sell side liquidity. So that means they'll just now let me see here. They haven't tested the 12 yet on the 4 hour. So what Meta could do is bounce up some more. It could bounce up. And if it's not holding like 620-ish, somewhere around there and getting and reclaiming the 4 hour, what it will do is reject here and then this next sell-off, because they do need to push up and grab some liquidity on the upside. And then that's just going to give a more powerful move back down. And so that happens where Meta starts to reject somewhere around the 620s in this area, then I would look for price to then sell off to about right here. And I'm not saying it's coming all the way back down to 540 or nothing like that. I'm just saying I would watch for a wick here and then see if support holds there. So that's kind of my theory. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a pop on Meta, but I just Meta doesn't look good for for like a long-term buy yet. You're welcome. Okay, I've seen a few people ask for Lyft, so I will cover Lyft. Oops. All right, so Lyft. I've been having 2044 on my chart for a little minute and then 1937. I don't remember where I got that from. Um, but for Lyft, I mean, they're on the monthly chart still in an uptrend, still curving up, still above the 12 after reclaiming it. And they are technically still above October's high and could potentially, if they start to bounce more, reclaim September's high. So those are two things you can watch, whether or not we hold October's high and whether or not we can reclaim price above September's high. That would be some nice clues of a stronger continuation. And so then you can walk it down. And on the weekly, it does still look good. Price is trying to hold the 12, hold the WCMA. I would really watch October and September's high as like some key points. But they are waking up. So I know like the market is pulling back, but Lyft seems to have a little bit of strength in them, a little bit of bite. Um, so I'm gonna actually put this one on my watch list. BTC bouncing now. Let me see. Uh, yeah, it's a little bounce. It's a little bounce. I think it really has to come down to this 92. I won't worry about Bitcoin if it holds 90, but it's like I'm looking for that sell side liquidity, but they are bouncing nice off of what? I think everybody should use Bitcoin's chart as a study map, a study guide. Mm, yeah, they're bouncing. They're trying to respect what low is this? May? Oh, I this is one thing I did want to say about Bitcoin. I'll go back to Lyft. I did notice that Bitcoin's sell-off was targeting the May, April zone. So that's pretty cool that it actually has reached that. And I was looking to see if they were going to hold May's low because May was what led the next bounce on breakout on Bitcoin. And so far, let's see. So the low on Bitcoin for May was 93,376. And we challenged as low as 92. Yeah, I will watch the low of May and see what happens. It looks like we're falling weak there too. They'll find support, but it looks funky. So on Lyft, I think Lyft still looks pretty good. I don't like that wick right here. That was some real selling pressure, but I mean that was let's see where that came from on the 1 day. Look at the gap up on the 1 day for Lyft, as high as like the 30s. So yeah, here's my thing with Lyft. If you're marking and following Lyft, mark your October high, mark your September high, and then just follow that weekly breakout as well because they do still actually look good. They are not showing me the same signs as a lot of these other stocks yet. I'd worry more if we get back under 12. But yeah, Lyft looks good. If they break Friday's high and you want to follow it from the daily time frame, look to see if they can then break Thursday's high and then break Wednesday's high. And then again, you have order blocks positioned here. So why wouldn't they try to gap up here? So just worth following. I think Lyft's a good one, guys. I don't have any bad um I don't have a bad sentiment on Lyft yet. This will be on my YouTube, just net, just Just net NETTE. All right, so I'm not going to cover any more stocks. If you just wanted a quick look at the screener, those are also on my YouTube. There is always money flowing somewhere, so remember to pull out your heat maps Monday. Even with your heat maps, you can actually go to screeners, go to your stocks or ETF heat maps, whichever you want to watch, and you can set it to look at like post market. You can see everything that happened after hours on Friday, like what was flipping green strong, obviously Google. You can also set it to pre-market once we get to pre-market hours and start to follow what was happening pre-market. Kind of gives you an idea of what to start focusing your eyes on. Obviously, tech was super red pre-market, but then what happens when we got to our like opening, we were bullish. And another thing you can do too is break it down by the first hour, I mean the most recent hour changes and the most recent 4 hour changes. But yeah, I have some screener videos on my YouTube channel as well if you want to just kind of get an idea of how to set screeners. I mean, screeners are one of those things that you can just, I could just sit there and find screeners for hours. Another thing, you guys ask a lot of questions, and I'm just like wondering like if anybody's using Chat GPT because my history with Chat GPT, especially Black Wolf, because it's customized to what I trade with. Look at this. I even holding my stock, my swing on QQQ for Friday, I'm sorry, Thursday to Friday's opening. I just asked like Black Wolf through Chat GPT, was that a good idea based on multiple charts? So what am I doing? I'm just feeding it charts. See? I'm just feeding it charts, telling it to scan it and confirm my hold overnight. And it did. I did that all week last week because what I'm trying to say is sometimes even when you're asking economic questions, if AI is here and it's here to stay right now, then you want to have the edge on utilizing it, right? So you want to make sure that you can go to Chat GPT and just feed it a chart and then say, hey, help me, feed it multiple charts. Like um when I started my talk with QQQ, I gave it four t multiple time frames. And then I talked it through my entire trade session every day, updating it with prices, where I'm at, what was my win, and by the end of the week, I got a report card. So, sometimes when you guys ask questions, the reason why I take it to Chat GPT for you is not because I can't answer the question. It's just I'm trying to show you that you can utilize AI to benefit you. I don't like to take away the human element. This is why, these lives or learning sessions or just, interacting with peers is good. But sometimes if you're stuck and you're needing a little bit of extra help, spend your weekends kind of working through some of those gaps using AI. And I'm not going to preach too much on AI. There's good and bad of it, but I feel like in trading, it can be beneficial for you. So let's see. Yeah, I hate AI. Like, I don't like what it's doing. I don't want to lose my job to AI or anything, but it's given an edge in the trading environment if you just really think about it and use it. Let's see. What app do you get your screener or stock heat map? There's multiple places you can go for screeners, guys, not just even in TradingView. I think you can go in Webull and set up screeners. You can go into Robinhood and set up screeners. There's screeners everywhere. And you can base it off like what you like to trade with. So if you're a technicals person, there's all kind of stuff that you can use. Um, there's all kind of options. So right now, my previous candle breaks is really looking at any time frame I want to look at, setting a percentage of what type of breakout I want to look at. So right now it's set to the weekly. So everything here, um, let's just say I want it above so I can get like bullish and I want it to be, so all of these broke their previous week candles, closing price. And so as you can see, I just found where money was flowing, right? So there's just all kinds of screeners out there. You just have to play with it. I have my favorites, and so this is one of my favorites. And so I can see where some of the money goes. in even a red market. So with all the pullback, there's still money flowing to other places. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up. Before I do, anyone want to come off mute or ask any final questions?
I want to thank you for today's lesson. This is my first time joining, and I definitely going to be hiring you for a one-on-one because you do a great job. You're very thorough. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I love my one-on-ones, guys. I never thought in a year I'd be coaching, but if you've coached with me, I make the most of the 1 hour we have. I get people that reschedule with me, but I really enjoy helping. So thank you. I haven't done a live in so long. Someone said they never thought about Chat GPT. Well, now you know. So come back to me in like a week or so and let me know how that worked out. If you're looking for a one-on-one, you can just message me in Discord. What's my Discord name? I forget. Is it like Pretty Wolf Hustle? Discord. Just message me in Discord. I think it is Pretty Wolf Hustle.
Yeah, it's Pretty Wolf Hustle.
There you go. So if you do want to schedule a one-on-one, just message me. I am closing my weekends up until after Thanksgiving, so that means all you can schedule right now is what's going to be available during the weekday after work hours. But I'm here, and then I'll open my weekend schedule up after Thanksgiving. All right, everyone. If there's no other questions, I'm going to stop here and wrap up. I do appreciate everyone joining. I kind of missed you guys and doing these lives, so I'll probably do another one maybe next weekend. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good week.
All right, thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
do the
Bye.
same.